the chronicle of St. John of the Cross, which is called the Dark Nights of the Soul, and describes all of the dark nights of the soul, all of the deaths that we experience on the spiritual path. But at the end of this chronicle, after the final dark night, after the final death, he says, beyond this point, there are no words to describe, but when all in the house were asleep, I went forth. We have need to explore this over the coming days. What does this mean for us? What is this no trace that continues endlessly? And there's that old allegory about that man called Majud. Now he was an ordinary man. For many, many years he had been a clerk in the Department of Weights and Measures of the local government. But one day Majud woke up, and it seemed that the bottom of his world had fallen out. Life had no taste for him. He did not have the will even to get up and go about the usual things of the morning, his ablutions, having his cup of green tea. But for the most part, Majud had followed the ways of society, the ways of his faith of the day, the laws of the land. But in this state of loss, it seemed that he staggered out and found himself down by the river that ran by his house. And as he was standing there in that state of voidness, suddenly he was aware of a voice, and in his mind's eye it appeared to him as though the prophet Kadir, the one they call the Green One, appeared before him and said to him, Majud, resign your job, give up life as you know it, and meet me here by the river in 3 days' time. So Majud did what he was bidden. He went and resigned his position after all these years, and people said to him, What's happened, Majud? What are you... And Majud said, I don't really know. And of course they thought he'd lost his mind. But as is the way of society, there were many others who coveted his position, so they soon forgot about what he'd said. But Majud went down by the river as he had been told. And the voice, Kadir, spoke to him again and said, rend your clothing and jump in the river. So Majud did as he was told, discarding the garb of so many years, the conditioning, and so forth. He dove, naked, into the flowing river. It was rapid, but he could swim, so he did not drown. But being carried down by the force of the river's flow, he turned a bend in the river, and it so happened that there was a fisherman on the shore who saw him in the flowing water and waded in to drag him out. And he said, "What are you doing, you foolish man? That river is so fast flowing, you could have drowned." But Majud, in rather a dazed way, mumbled something. But the fisherman dragged him in and soon found that Majud was somewhat of a learned man. He could read and write, which the fisherman could not do, so they struck a bargain. Majud taught the fisherman how to read and write, and the fisherman taught Majud the ways of the water, the ways of a river, its flow, its seasons, when the fish ran, and so forth. And Majud was there for several years, until one day, again, the voice, Kadir, came to him and said, "Leave this place." And so he did. And now, wearing a fisherman's garb, Majud wandered down the road. And then he met a farmer who was coming the other day, and seeing this simple man, he asked him, "Are you looking for work? Because I need someone to help me on my farm." So Majud agreed to do so, and he went to work for the farmer. And in the time with him, he learned the ways of the land, the cycles of nature, the ways of the earth, how it grew and then became fallow, and so on and so on. Until again, one day the voice spoke to him again and said, "Leave this place and go to the city of Mosul and become an assistant to a grocer there." So again Majud left and made his way to the city, where indeed he found the grocer and became a server in his shop. Now, by this time, Majud was showing signs of what he had learned about the ways of the river, the ways of water, and the ways of the land. And so, strangely it might seem, those who came in to the grocer's shop began to seek his counsel. He was showing signs of being a learned man. And this went on for some long while. Many people, most who came in to seek the purchase of their groceries, soon began to seek from Majud the ways to solve their problems of life, and so on and so on. But then came a day when again Kadir, the voice, spoke to him and said, "Give me your savings. Give me your knowledge. Give me your wisdom, and leave this place." Majud did what he was bidden to do, relinquishing all that he had gained, his savings, his knowledge, his wisdom, and he set out. Never again did Majud hear an inner voice or have appear in his mind's eye, that one that in this story is called Kadir, the green one, the one who comes to man when they are in a point of transition, a point of the death of an old. And so this story leaves us with the question, how would you end this story? How will you end this story? Seeing that we have in some way relinquished, given up all and set forth. What does it mean? How would you end this story? Do you yet have a gleaning? What does it mean when all in the house were asleep? I went forth. The no trace that continues endlessly.